Incredible moment. Billionaire discovers hidden bruised girl in the snow, her touching whisper. The howling wind screamed like a banshee, swirling snowflakes in a wild dance of winter chaos. In the heart of the blizzard, Jake Thompson, the self-made billionaire, found himself back in his snow-covered hometown of Maplewood. The familiar streets now lay buried beneath a heavy white shroud. Jake had returned, hoping to reconnect with the spirit of the holidays. But instead, he was met with bone-chilling darkness both inside and out. His life had grown distant from the simple joys of his youth, and now, standing at the edge of the community center, the very place where laughter and warmth once filled his heart, he hesitated. Memories of his single mother's resolve and the happiness of a close-knit community tugged at him, but so did the weight of his wealth and the estrangement it brought. As he stepped inside, the mixture of nostalgia and isolation bore down heavily on him, but he shook it off, intent on feeling something, anything again. Then, through the storm's deafening roar, he heard it. A soft, trembling whisper that sliced through the chaos. "Help me." The words echoed like a plea from the shadows. Alarm bells ricocheted in Jake's chest. He followed the voice, pushing aside his thoughts of affluence and privilege, and waded deeper into the stormy darkness of the community center. There, curled in a corner, was Lily, a hidden, bruised girl of only 12, tangled up in sadness that cut sharper than any blizzard. With ragged breath, she looked up at him, her wide eyes a storm of fear and hope. Jake felt a tightness in his chest, an emotional whirlwind brewing within him. Once a boy soaking in this very place, he could hardly stand the sight of this abandoned child, so lost and scared. The billion-dollar empires he had built suddenly felt empty as empathy flooded his heart. "Lily, right?" he murmured, kneeling down to her level. For a moment he was just Jake, the boy who once played here. "What happened? Why are you here?" In a choked voice, she shared her story, a tale of abuse and hurt, each word chipping away at Jake's veneer of success. Her raw pain ignited something long buried in him, and a fierce resolve began to grow. He had wealth, yes, but did he also have the humility to effect change? It was time to champion Lily's cause, to bridge the gulf between his life and the raw, unfiltered suffering she endured. Before they could move forward, doubts and judgments swirled around them. As townsfolk gathered, whispers mingled with the wind. Could a billionaire really care about a girl like Lily? Their skepticism pierced his resolve like icicles hanging from a roof. Determined, he began rallying for her. Conversations with local veterans and leaders sparked fierce debates about opportunity and merit. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As he crafted a plan for Lily to confront her estranged mother, Jake felt hope flicker in the air, a sense of empowerment that transcended wealth. But beneath it all, uncertainty churned. Would he ever truly bridge the divide between his past and present? Outside, the storm began to ease, but the emotional tempest within him still roared. He had a chance to mend what was broken, not just for Lily but for himself. Would he dare to step forward into the unknown, to prove that true wealth lay not in riches but in compassion? As he started to reach out, he sensed the first stirrings of a new beginning. The question loomed, could he succeed? The next day dawned cold and bright, the sun attempting to melt away the remnants of the storm that had left Maplewood in a white embrace. The world outside sparkled with icy beauty, but inside Jake's heart, uncertainty lingered. He couldn't shake the image of Lily, her vulnerable frame hiding in the community center. Today he was supposed to confront her mother. Clutching a steaming cup of coffee, Jake paced his hotel room. He couldn't believe he was about to confront a woman who abandoned her own child. Questions circled in his mind like vultures. Would her mother even care? Did she realize the pain she had inflicted? He turned his phone over in his hand, hesitant to make the call. Finally, Jake took a deep breath and dialed the number he had been given. It rang twice before a voice answered, flat and tired. Hello? Susan? Jake began, his voice wavering slightly. This is Jake Thompson. I'm looking for Lily. Is there any way we could meet to discuss her? Silence hung heavily in the air, and he could almost hear her thinking. Why should I? Susan replied, the coldness seeping through the line. She's not my responsibility anymore. Something in Jake snapped. But she is your daughter. She's hurting. And she needs you. This isn't about blame, it's about moving forward. I don't have time for this. Her tone was dismissive, but Jake held on to the thread of hope. Please just meet me. For her sake. There was a pause. Fine. The old diner on Maple Street at 3. As the call ended, relief washed over him, but it was quickly eclipsed by anxiety. Could he convince Susan to see Lily, to rekindle what had been lost? The day crawled by, each tick of the clock growing louder as he imagined the moment he'd have to face her. As Jake pulled into the diner parking lot, his hands shook on the steering wheel. Inside, the diner was a comforting warmth amidst the cold outside. He spotted Susan at a booth, her eyes narrowed, arms crossed. It took all of Jake's strength to push through the door and approach her. Thank you for coming, he began, sliding into the seat opposite her. As he gauged her expression, a mix of bitterness and indifference washed over her face. I'm here because of Lily. She is struggling, and I think she needs her mother. Susan scoffed, leaning back. She had me and she threw that away. Why should I care now? Because she is a child, he answered firmly. No one deserves to be left in the shadows, especially not your child. She has been wounded in ways you can't imagine. At that, something flickered in her eyes, perhaps recognition, perhaps guilt. Don't pretend to understand, she snapped. You've got everything you need. What do you know about pain? More than you think, he replied, feeling the heat of anger rise. I grew up in this town just like her. I've got the money now, but it doesn't fix that hole inside. I came back to wake that part of myself up. You still can, too. For a moment, silence enveloped them, and Jake felt the weight of the truth hanging heavily in the air. Would she see the light through her own darkness? Susan looked away, her fingers trembling slightly. It's too late for me, and it's too late for her, she whispered, but Jake could sense a crack in her armor. No, it's not. It's never too late. But she needs you to fight for her. As he reached for her hand, a flicker of vulnerability crossed her face. What if I fail? You won't know until you try, he urged gently, heart racing. But if you don't, you'll lose her forever. He waited, breathless. Would Susan take that leap into a scary unknown, to become the mother Lily needed? Just then, the door swung open, and a gust of icy wind swept through, chilling the room again. The moment felt fragile, a line hanging in the balance. As Jake locked eyes with Susan, he faced a question greater than just Lily's fate. Would a mother's love bloom once more in winter's grasp? The tension in the diner thickened, an invisible weight pushing down on Jake and Susan. He could feel the clock ticking louder now, each second a reminder of just how fragile hope could be. Susan looked lost, her gaze distant, as if she were peering through a fog of regret and fear. Lily needs you, Jake pressed gently, shifting slightly in his seat. You may think it's too late, but a part of her is still holding on. She wants you. She wants her mother back. For a long moment, Susan stayed silent, her arms still crossed. Her walls were strong, but Jake could see cracks beginning to form. He leaned in, sensing that this was the moment to push just a little harder. I talked to her yesterday. You have no idea what she told me. She still yearns for your love. She remembers you. Susan's eyes flickered, a mix of emotions riling within her. Memories don't change reality. She snapped, but her voice wavered. There was an underlying fear that Jake could sense, a fear of failure, of not being enough. Maybe not, Jake replied, energy surging through him, but they can be a start. If you reach out now, you could change everything. Slowly, Susan uncrossed her arms, revealing hands trembling slightly. Jake took the chance, sliding closer. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be there. For her. But what if I can't? The vulnerability in her voice pierced Jake's heart. What if I'm not what she needs? Jake saw the pain beneath her bravado and reached out, placing a hand over hers. You will never know unless you try. You have the power to choose. To change. Tears glimmered in Susan's eyes, and for a brief moment, Jake thought she might let go of the hurt from her past. His heart raced as she began to sink into the weight of her feelings. Would she finally let herself hope for a future with Lily? Outside, the wind howled, swirling snowflakes against the window. Jake remembered Lily's fragile figure, the way her small frame seemed so lost in this cold world. He thought about what it would mean for her mother to step out of the darkness. Suddenly, Susan pulled her hand back, her face tightening in resolve. I can't just waltz back in after all this time and pretend everything is fine. No one is asking you to, he urged, his voice steady. Just talk to her. Acknowledgement is the first step. You both deserve that. Life has thrown you both into a whirlwind, but this is your chance to reclaim that bond. The flickering light in Susan's eyes gave Jake hope as her expression softened. You really think she wants me back? Yes. Jake nodded, conviction filling him. More than anything, Susan. She needs to know you care. The moment stretched, filled with the potential of a life changed. Susan's breath hitched, and tears spilled over as she looked down, gripping the edge of the table as if it were her anchor. It's terrifying, she whispered. Yeah, but that fear can lead to something beautiful. Let it drive you toward a chance for healing. As if the universe was aligning, the door creaked open again, casting a shadow in the diner's warm light. Jake turned slightly, his heart dropping as he caught sight of Lily standing in the doorway, her face pale against the backdrop of the storm. Caught in a whirlwind of emotions, how could Jake explain this moment? Would this unexpected arrival bridge the gap? Or would it shatter the fragile hope that had just begun to bloom? He watched as Lily took a hesitant step inside, and the question hung in the air, electrifying. Would this meeting be a reunion of lost love, or the final chapter to dreams dashed against reality? The room fell into a heavy silence as Lily stepped across the threshold, the wind howling behind her like a distant cry. Her eyes darted between Susan and Jake, searching for meaning in their expressions. Jake watched her, heart racing with a mix of hope and worry. This was the moment everything hinged upon a possibility of reunion or a painful reminder of all that was lost. Lily Susan finally breathed, the name escaping her lips like a prayer. A flicker of recognition pulled at Lily's face, yet uncertainty lingered in her stance. She stepped forward, hesitantly, as if each movement on the icy ground carried the weight of their past. What are you doing here? Lily asked, her voice wavering. The teenage girl who had once been so vibrant now appeared fragile in her vulnerability, like a flower struggling to bloom in the winter's chill. I wanted to see you, Susan managed, her voice just above a whisper. I've been thinking about you, about everything. Emotions crashed within her like waves, threatening to carry her away. Jake watched them both, his breath held tight in his chest. Would they embrace this chance, or would they turn away, retreating into old fears? Lily's brow furrowed. Everything? You mean all the times you weren't there? The hurt in her voice was palpable, cutting deep like an ice shard. I know I can't take back the past, Susan said, her voice trembling, but I want to try. To be here now to help you if you'll let me. The space between them felt electric, laden with dormant affection and unresolved pain. Jake could see how each second stuck in the air, heavy with expectation. Lily hesitated, the walls built over years cracking ever so slightly. What do you think you can do now? She challenged, arms crossed as she braced herself against the emotional whirlwind. It's too late for words. I need more than that. I know love isn't enough, Susan replied, tears pooling in her eyes. But I want to understand, to begin from where we are now. Please let us talk. Just talk. The simple invitation hung in the air, a soft breeze warming the chill of rejection that had settled in their hearts for so long. It took a moment, but Jake saw something shift in Lily's eyes, something raw and unguarded. Do you really mean it? Lily asked, her voice softer now, almost a whisper as she stepped closer. Susan nodded, her heart racing. Yes, I do. I failed you before, but I don't want to fail again. I'm sorry for everything. I want to get to know my daughter again. A flicker of hope ignited in Jake's heart. But then Lily's expression clouded over again, doubt creeping back in. But what if I can't trust you? What if it hurts too much? I'll be here, Susan promised, stepping forward, her own fears pushing her to act. I'll prove to you that I'm serious about this. I know it's going to take time, but I'm willing to do the work. You're worth that and more. Lily seemed to weigh her mother's words, the hesitation in her shoulders slowly releasing. In the distance, the wind howled again, carrying with it a sense of inevitability. Suddenly, the space around them felt charged with possibility, like a storm about to break. As Jake saw Lily's resolve softening, he couldn't shake the feeling that this moment would change everything. Would Susan's willingness to show up be enough to bridge the years of pain? Could they both overcome the scars of the past and start anew? The tension in the air crackled with promise, but uncertainty still loomed. Would this softening moment create a healing path, or would old wounds rise to the surface once more? Jake held his breath, knowing that the next few moments could transform them all forever. What would Lily choose? How would this fragile thread connect them or tear them apart once again? Lily stood still, her heart a whirlwind of emotions. The words "I'm sorry" hung in her mind, tinged with an urgency to believe them. She looked at Susan, at the woman who had once been the center of her world, yet had left her feeling abandoned. Could a simple conversation bridge the chasm of time? You really think you can just show up after all these years and expect me to believe you? Lily pressed, each syllable sharpened by the pain of old memories. I don't expect anything. I just want a chance, Susan replied softly, her voice thick with emotion. I regret every moment I lost with you, every time I wasn't there. I'm asking you to let me. And Jake took a cautious step forward, sensing the tender threshold they were all teetering on. Lily, he said gently, maybe this could be a fresh start. He could see how torn she was, longing for connection yet afraid of deeper hurt. I don't know if I can, Lily said, her brows rolling back together like storm clouds. What if you're just saying this? What if it's too good to be true? Susan took a deep breath, steel emerging in her voice. Then let me prove it to you. I won't give up. I'll fight for us no matter how long it takes. Just give me a chance to show you that I mean it. Lily's defenses wavered, her heart flickering with a strange mix of hope and skepticism. She looked at Jake for support, and he nodded, his expression encouraging. You don't have to decide everything right now, he reminded her. Maybe starting with a conversation can ease some of that fear. Lily's voice trembled like a fragile thread, fraying with uncertainty. I don't know where to even start. Start with the here and now, Jake suggested. Talk about what you felt. What was hard or what you want from this, Susan added, eyes shimmering with possibility. Anything at all, Lily. Just open up to me. Tension wrapped around them, threading the air with a warm pulse. Lily closed her eyes, inhaling deeply, lost in the torrent of her thoughts. It wasn't just about the pain. It was also about the flicker of potential for something beautiful. What if I'm angry still? She asked, hesitant yet hopeful. What if it's not enough for you to just come back? I can take your anger, Susan replied, her hand trembling as she reached out but pulled back at the last second. You have every right. I want to know you, the real you, the girl who has carried this weight alone for so long. We can start from there. There was a silence, stretching thin, taut as a bowstring. Jake's heart raced. He could feel the shift unfolding. The raw honesty in the room was palpable, and the old pain flickered in and out, like shadows chasing the light. I think I want to try, Lily finally said softly, the words quivering on her lips. Really? Susan's eyes widened, flickering hope shining through. But it won't be easy, Lily warned, crossing her arms as a protective barrier still lingered. Nothing worthwhile ever is, Susan replied, smiling through tears, clarity breaking through her own fears. As they stood on the precipice of something new, the air around them felt lighter, charged with the electricity of possibility. But deep down, Jake couldn't shake the unsettling thought that shadows of the past were still lurking, waiting for an opportunity to rear their ugly heads. Could they move forward without falling back into the old patterns of hurt? Or would the ghosts of yesterday continue to haunt their attempts at rebuilding what once was lost? With bated breath, Jake watched the two women, sensing the fragile new beginning stretching before them like a thin line in the snow. What would they each uncover as they ventured down this uncertain path? Lily took a deep breath, her chest tightening as she ventured deeper into this new reality. She wanted to embrace the hope Susan offered while feeling the tug of her guarded heart. "Okay, let us talk," she said at last, her voice a whisper wrapped in determination. Susan moved closer, the space between them shrinking as if the years could evaporate with each step. "What do you want to know?" Her eyes searched Lily's face, an ocean of longing and remorse. "I want to know why," Lily began, her voice cracking, memories flooding back. "Why you left us. Why you left me." Susan winced, her expression softening into a mask of regret. "I thought I was doing the right thing," she replied, her words tumbling out in a rush. "I thought, if I left, things would get better for both of us. I was so wrong, Lily." A silence hung in the air, heavy and uncomfortable. Jake stood at the edge of their conversation, unsure whether to intervene. He could sense the tension thick and heavy, pulsating around them like an unspoken bond and a wall all at once. "Did you even care?" Lily's words pierced through the silence, filled with an anguish that encapsulated years of bitterness and ache. "More than you could possibly imagine," Susan said, tears welling in her eyes. "I was scared, and I made all the wrong choices. I thought leaving would save you from my mistakes. But what I didn't realize was that leaving would turn my life into a series of regrets." Lily shifted uncomfortably, feeling the warmth of the moment begin to chill. The longing for connection fought the instinct to shut everyone out. "What do you want me to say?" she finally asked, her voice barely a whisper. "What if I can't forgive you?" "You don't have to forgive me right now," Susan replied, her voice steady but fragile. "But I need you to know that I'm here, and I will do whatever it takes to earn that forgiveness." The uncertainty hung thick in the air, and Jake felt his heart sink, aware that even if they moved forward, the path would be riddled with obstacles. Would Susan's promises hold true? Was this a chance they could really seize, or merely a familiar trap set by the past? As if sensing Jake's turmoil, Lily glanced at him, searching for an anchor. "What do you think?" she asked him softly, vulnerability lining her words. Jake swallowed hard, feeling the weight of the moment. "I think healing takes time, but you both deserve to try. Just remember, it's okay to feel angry. It's okay to take things slow. Just don't ignore your feelings, let them guide you." Lily nodded, unsure but willing to explore this fragile connection. Just then, a sharp sound broke through the tension. A wave of icy wind swept in, causing Susan to shudder. She instinctively inched closer to Lily, their shoulders brushing together in a search for warmth. "We can take it step by step," Susan whispered, her intentions echoing softly against the biting wind. "I guess," Lily replied, her breath visible in the cold air as she felt a cautious flicker of belief. "But I need to know how you'll fight for me. I need something real." "I promise," Susan murmured, her sincerity palpable as her gaze locked onto Lily's. "Let us build this together. You and me." With a mix of hope and skepticism, Lily's heart beat faster. They were at the edge of something uncertain, but her courage skirted around the fear threatening to pull her back into the shadows. But an uneasy awareness loomed in the background. Jake could feel it too, the pervasive notion that old wounds don't heal easily and might not be so easily forgotten. As the night wore on, delicate shards of ice clung to the edges of their conversation. Could they really walk this new path together without getting lost in the debris of the past? Suddenly, a soft cry echoed down the alleyway, piercing the moment and leaving them all breathless. Jake's gaze shifted instinctively toward the sound, his instincts igniting. "Did you hear that?" he said, body tense with curiosity. Both women turned, eyes wide, as the echoes of the unfamiliar noise broke through their fragile moment. What would they discover next, and would it change the course of their tentative journey? Jake took a step toward the alley, a knot forming in his stomach. "Stay close," he said, glancing back to make sure both women were right behind him. The dim light barely illuminated the path ahead, and the chill in the air settled deep in his bones. Lily and Susan, both hesitant yet curious, followed him closely. Through the shadows, he could barely make out a small figure curled up against the cold brick wall. A muffled whimper echoed again, more desperate this time. "What if it's just a stray animal?" Lily asked, her voice trembling. Yet her instincts pulled her closer, the urge to help overpowering any hesitance. "It sounds human," Jake replied, his heart pounding. Each step felt heavier as they approached, the air around them growing tense with anticipation. As they got closer, the figure became clearer. A girl, no older than 10, huddled tightly in a tattered coat, her hair tangled and streaked with dirt. Jake's heart dropped at the sight. Despite the biting cold, tears streamed down the child's cheeks, and her small frame shook. "Oh my God," Susan gasped, rushing forward without a thought. "Hey there, sweetie. You're safe now. Can you hear me?" The girl looked up with wide, frightened eyes. Her lips trembled as she tried to speak, but the sound came out as a choked sob. "Shoo! It's okay," Lily whispered softly, kneeling beside her. "You're not alone anymore. We're here to help." The girl flinched at their approach, unsure of who they were or if they could be trusted. Jake felt the weight of her fear. He dropped to one knee, trying to make himself less intimidating. "My name is Jake," he said gently, extending his hand in a welcoming gesture. "We just want to help you. Can you tell us your name?" With her trembling hands cradling her knees, she looked between them, assessing. "Mia," she finally whispered, her voice nearly lost in the howling wind. "Mia," Susan repeated softly, as though saying the name would bring her warmth. "That's really pretty. Where's your family? Are you lost?" The little girl shook her head, wrapping her arms tighter around her legs. They left me." The statement hung there, loaded with a heaviness that tightened Jake's chest. He exchanged a glance with Lily and Susan, both of whom shared the same shock and sorrow. "We're not going to leave you," Lily assured her, her voice filled with tenderness. "You're safe with us, I promise." "Can you walk, Mia?" Jake asked, trying to maintain a comforting tone. "We can take you somewhere warm." The girl nodded slightly but remained rooted in her spot, the fear still gripping her heart. Lily moved closer, offering her hand. "Come on, let us get you out of the cold." Tentatively, Mia reached out, her little fingers curling around Lily's. As they began to stand together, she looked up into Lily's eyes. In that moment, something shifted. It was as if she was searching for a glimmer of hope, a connection in all the uncertainty. Susan's eyes filled with tears as she watched Lily kneeling beside the girl, the nurturing instinct in her bursting forth. "You're stronger than you know, Mia. We'll take care of you. I promise," she said, her voice a soothing balm against the chaos that surrounded them. Jake remembered his own childhood, how small acts of kindness had illuminated the darkest moments. Would this be the turning point not just for Mia, but for them all? Just before they turned to leave the alley, Mia's voice broke through the silence. "Wait, can I stay with you? Just for a little while?" Their hearts swelled with both joy and a lingering worry. Could they really embrace the responsibility of this new life without losing their own battles? "Of course you can, Mia," Lily replied instantly, her heart racing. Meanwhile, Jake felt the crack in his own walls begin to widen. But in the depths of his mind, a question simmered. How had they all ended up here, in this crucial moment? With the weight of everyone's past clinging to them, they were standing on the edge, ready to dive into the unknown. As they walked forward into the night, its icy breath biting at their heels, something unexpected stirred. Inside Jake, would they find strength in this child's vulnerability, or would the past haunt them in their new journey? The air felt heavier as they moved out of the alley, the weight of Mia's small hand clutched in Lily's tighter than Jake had anticipated. Each step they took into the flickering streetlights felt like a promise made. With each gasp of her breath, he could sense how deeply the night had affected Mia. "Is there a place you'd like to go, Mia?" Jake asked softly, hoping to ignite a spark of familiarity. She looked up at him, her eyes still wide with fear but glinting with possibility. "Warm," she whispered, her voice so small it barely cut through the crisp air. In that moment, a surge of determination coursed through Jake. "Let us find somewhere warm," he said, nodding to Lily and Susan. "I know a diner that's open late. We can all go there and figure things out." Mia seemed to consider his words, her brows knitted together as if she were weighing the risks of trust. But the chill in the wind was biting, and with the warmth of Lily's hand holding hers, a small flicker of hope ignited in her eyes. The trio walked briskly, aiming to shield Mia from the cold that had nested in her bones. The sound of their footsteps echoed against the pavement, a rhythmic beat that intermingled with the occasional honk of a distant car. Mia quietly observed the world around her, as if each mundane detail was foreign yet astonishing. "Do you like chocolate milkshakes?" Susan chimed in, breaking the quiet. She glanced sideways at Mia, hoping to coax a smile. Mia's lips turned up ever so slightly. "I think so," she said, her voice a tiny ember of hope. "Well, we're going to get you one. They make the best milkshakes at this place," Lily encouraged, fleshing out Mia's small smile. As they crossed the street, the diner came into view, its neon lights buzzing like a beacon in the darkness. Jake pushed the door open, and the warm scent of frying bacon and fresh coffee enveloped them, a stark contrast to the cruelty of the cold outside. Patrol lights from police cars occasionally swept past their table, reminding Jake that the outside world was still fraught with peril. But right now, he just wanted Mia to feel safe. They settled into a booth, Mia sandwiched between Lily and Susan, her body tense but beginning to relax slightly. The waitress, a cheerful woman with a bright smile, approached with menus quickly, but all eyes were on Mia. "What can I get you?" she asked, her eyes sparkling. Mia hesitated, her gaze darting to the options listed. She started, but Jake quickly interjected. "She'd love a chocolate milkshake," he said, giving her a reassuring smile. "And do you think you could add some fries to that? Something salty to go with the sweetness?" Mia's eyes widened at the mention of fries, a flicker of joy finally breaking through. "Fries sound good," she muttered, almost shyly. Lily nodded vigorously. "You'll love them. We'll be your taste testers." As Mia's ice-cold demeanor began to thaw, Jake felt a weight lift off his shoulders. The warmth of the diner, the kindness of his companions, and Mia's tentative happiness flooded him with unexpected strength. Yet, deep in his chest, trepidation still lingered. "How do we help her?" he pondered as they waited for their food. His eyes flickered to Mia's small, vulnerable figure leaning against the booth, and he felt the urge to protect her far beyond what he had ever felt for anyone before. Then it hit him, a darker reality loomed just outside the glass walls of the diner. The world was not custom fit for tenderness, and nurturing this little girl meant facing whatever nightmare had led her here. Jake knew that leaving Mia alone would not only break her spirit, but could also lead to the chaos he feared. "Tomorrow we'll figure out a plan," he decided quietly, mostly to himself. And as he glanced at her, a notion flickered through his mind. While he was determined to help Mia, he found himself wondering what he might have to let go of in order to protect her. Just then, Mia shifted in her seat, her gaze focusing on something beyond the diner's window. Jake followed her gaze, and his heart stuttered as he saw a figure lurking in the shadows across the street. Mia's voice trembled, her grip tightening on Lily's arm. "What is it, Mia?" he asked, his heart racing as he turned back to her. She could only whisper, "I think someone is watching us." A chill snaked down Jake's spine as he turned back toward the window, feeling the weight of their unresolved past loom ever closer. Would they be able to protect her? Or was danger lurking just beyond the perimeter of their newfound warmth? Jake's heart raced, pounding in his chest like a war drum. He turned slowly, feeling the air around him shift thick and charged. The low hum of the diner faded into the background as he focused on the figure across the street. It was a shadow in the night but ominous in its stillness. Stay close, he murmured, shifting to position himself between Mia and the window as if his mere presence could shield her from the darkness lurking outside. He locked eyes with Lily and Susan, who mirrored his unease. They all knew something was not right. What do we do? Lily whispered, barely audible. Just act normal. Keep talking to Mia. Jake's voice was steady, though inside, he was churning with apprehension. He turned back to the booth, forcing a smile. So, Mia, tell us about your favorite food. You mentioned you like chocolate milkshakes. But do you have a favorite meal? Mia blinked, still glancing toward the window, but he caught a hint of her curiosity. I like pizza, she said, her voice gaining a slight spark. Pizza. Yum. With pepperoni? Susan exclaimed, leaning in as if to draw Mia further from her dread. I don't think there's a better meal, right? Yeah. Mia replied, her tone softening, her small smile returning. The waitress arrived with their drinks, the clatter of icy glasses breaking the tension momentarily. Mia's breath caught in her throat as the milkshake was placed before her. It was a frosty, towering delight with whipped cream on top. Wow, look at that! Lily cheered, her excitement genuine. Can you believe how tall it is? Mia reached out, her fingers grazing the cold glass. She glanced back at Jake, her eyes wide. Can I? Of course. It's yours, Jake said, his heart lifting slightly as she finally took the milkshake in both hands. He could see her muscles relax, a little, as she brought it closer, savoring the moment as if it were a treasure. The tension lingered in the air as they continued to chat pizzas, fries, and their favorite flavors, but Jake couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. That figure was still there, barely visible but hauntingly present. Suddenly, without warning, the diner's door swung open, letting in a blast of cold air. Jake glanced over to see a young man enter, his clothes slightly rumpled but his eyes sharp, scanning the room before locking onto their booth. Mia's hand trembled slightly around her milkshake, her eyes wide again with terror. The young man's gaze moved to Jake for a beat and then back to Mia. Something passed between them, an unspoken understanding that made Jake bristle. Excuse me, the young man said, his voice too casual, but the undertone was charged. I'm looking for someone. A little girl, no? Mia whispered, her knuckles white around the glass. Jake felt his heart drop. You need to leave, he said firmly, his voice stronger than he felt. The diner seemed to still, all eyes on them now. An uncomfortable silence stretched, but the young man did not back down. I just need to talk to her. She's all I want. No, Mia whimpered, pushing closer to Lily. Jake's protective instincts surged, and he felt a cold fire ignite in his gut. Don't you dare come any closer, he warned, feeling Lily's hand on his arm, trying to keep him steady. You don't understand, the young man said, a desperation creeping into his tone. She's in danger, what could that mean? The air crackled with tension, and Jake's mind raced to piece together this puzzle. Who was this man and what threat did he pose? More importantly, how far would he go to reach Mia? With Mia's trust wavering, Jake faced the unknown. Deep within him, he knew the stakes had just risen dramatically. Tell us what you mean, he said, voice low, but filled with resolve, ready to protect Mia at any cost. The moment hung in the air as Jake's pulse quickened. Would they finally get the answers they so desperately needed? Or would the truth unravel everything? The young man took a step back, the weight of Jake's words hanging in the air between them. His eyes darted nervously from Jake to Mia. I swear, I'm not here to hurt her. I'm just trying to warn you. Mia's voice trembled, barely above a whisper. What do you know about me? The young man hesitated, guilt flashing across his face. I know more than I want to. You need to trust me. Please, time is running out. Jake, Lily whispered, gripping his arm tighter, her gaze flickering between the man and Mia. We need to consider this. Jake shook his head, his protective instincts surging. No, we don't. How can we trust someone who just barges in here? We've only just begun to help Mia. Mia is in danger because of what happened before, the stranger exclaimed, voice rising slightly with urgency. Her family, you think she is safe here, but they won't let this go. Her mother, sensing the air thickening with tension. The waitress swooped in, sensing the change. Her cheerful demeanor slipped a little under the palpable stress. "Everything okay over here?" she asked, glancing warily at the young man. "Yes," Jake interjected, his voice sharper now. "We're fine, but I'd like you to keep this man away from us." As concern clawed at the waitress's face, Mia pushed the milkshake aside, her eyes wide with fear. "What's happening?" "Nothing, Mia," Jake reassured her quickly, keeping his eyes fixed on the young man. "Just stay close." The guy sighed, frustration conflicting with desperation. "I'm sorry. I shouldn't have come. But if you'll just let me explain, I swear it will make sense." Each second stretched painfully as everyone waited, the diner still charged with uncertainty. Jake sensed that beneath both fear and defiance, there was a flicker of curiosity in Mia. Gathering himself, Jake took a deep breath. "Fine," he relented, voice steady as he lowered his guard just a hair. "But you will speak only to me, and only in front of us." "What are you talking about?" Mia clutched Lily's arm as Jake's firm tone demanded the young man's attention. "You can't let them find you, Mia," he said, voice low but insistent. "Your mother, she's drawn people into her life that don't care about you. They want to use you." "Is this a joke?" Jake asked, incredulity lined in his words. "Look, she doesn't just leave children. She organizes horrible things," he whispered, glancing around the diner to seek out any prying ears. "She has powerful people around her, people who want control over anything connected to her. And if they realize you're here, that's why we have to leave now," Susan chimed in, her eyes darting between Jake and the stranger. "We can't risk it. We'll find a safe place for Mia." "No, wait," the young man exclaimed, urgency flooding his voice. "It's not that easy. They know where you are. They'll be coming for her." Jake's heart sank at the thought of losing Mia to whatever dark threat loomed on the horizon. The reality of their precarious situation began to settle in his gut, thick and heavy. "We can't go without a plan," he mused, running a hand through his hair, glancing at Lily, then back at Mia's terrified expression. "Can we trust him? Mia, do you have anywhere you'd feel safest?" Lily asked gently, her voice calming in the storm. Mia shivered, looking back and forth between them, eyes wide with uncertainty. "I thought here was safe." "Sweetheart," Susan said, leaning in closer, "this is about your safety above all else." The young man nodded, urgency plastered across his face. "If you go to your mother, she'll put you back in the dark. You have to trust us. I'm not here to hurt anyone." "Where do we go?" Jake asked sharply, facing the stranger. "Follow me," he urged, desperation coloring his features. "But we need to move quickly. Trust me." Jake locked eyes with Lily and Susan, their shared urgency coursing like adrenaline. "We'll stick together, no matter what." Mia nodded slowly, squeezing Lily's hand tightly, her fear clashing with trust as they began to rise from their seats. As they stepped into the biting cold once more, the wind screamed around them, but together, they formed a barrier, one resilient enough to ward off the worst of the chaos. In the shifting shadows, Jake led the group closely, the young man flanked by them. Somehow, they all sought a sense of safety, of belonging within the walls of uncertainty, the pulse of familial love crackling between them. They moved toward the promise of new beginnings, inching away not only from the threat of danger but toward a hope that had begun to flicker within their hearts. Would they find the strength to confront their pasts and forge a future for themselves and Mia? Could love envelop them enough to keep them safe from the storm that threatened to sweep them all away? As the echoes of their footsteps faded behind them, the future remained an uncharted territory, one they would navigate together, step by uncertain step. Jake felt a warmth wrap around them even against the chill of the world outside. But that warmth wouldn't blind him. There were still shadows lingering, reminders that the fight was far from over. And in that knowing, Jake felt the stirrings of something deeper, a fierce love that burned brighter than any blizzard. As the night enveloped them, one thing became clear. Together, they were stronger, ready to face whatever awaited them in the shadows. And they would begin to write their own story, one of hope, resilience, and the undeniable bond of family forged anew. Now, more than ever, they needed to fight for happiness, to seize it with both hands as they stepped forward into the unknown. Together, you need to subscribe now to not miss the next exclusive stories. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and feelings about this ending. We want to hear from you. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation.